James Coburn was born as James Harrison Coburn III on August 31st, 1928 in Laurel, Nebraska. This was a tiny town in the middle of America that didn't seem like the kind of place that would create one of Hollywood's most memorable movie stars. He grew up during the Great Depression, which was a really hard time in America when many people didn't have much money. His dad ran a car garage, and his mom helped him stay curious and use his imagination. When James was young, he got really sick with something called rheumatoid arthritis, which made his joints hurt a lot. This sickness stayed with him for most of his life and affected the choices he made in his acting career and how he thought about life. But instead of giving up, these tough times made him stronger, more humble, and taught him to keep going no matter what. These qualities would later show up in the characters he played in movies. After James finished high school, he joined the United States Army. He worked as a truck driver during the time of the Korean War. Being in the military made him even tougher and more confident in a quiet way. These traits would become things people recognize about him in his movies. After leaving the Army, he went to college to study drama at Los Angeles City College and later at San Diego State College. It was during these school years that James found out he really loved acting. He also discovered he had a special talent for getting people's attention without saying very much. He got better at acting by working in theater plays and taking acting classes. He even studied at a famous place called the Hedro Theater in Pennsylvania, where they taught actors to be real and disciplined instead of being overly dramatic. James started his career slowly by appearing on television shows, especially westerns, which were really popular on American TV in the 1950s. He showed up in well-known TV series like Bonanza, Gunsmoke, Have Gun Will Travel, and The Rifleman. Even though these weren't big starring roles, they let him practice his special style of acting. He was cool, didn't overdo things, and had natural charm. Unlike many other actors back then who acted in big, dramatic ways, James showed strength by being still and showed he was smart by being subtle. The people who picked actors for shows quickly noticed that he brought something new and modern to the typical cowboy characters. His big break came in 1960 with a movie called The Magnificent Seven. He played a character named Britt, who was really good at throwing knives and shooting guns. His character was calm, precise, and quietly confident, and audiences loved him. Even though he wasn't the main star of the movie, James's performance really stood out. It showed everyone that a new kind of movie star had arrived, someone who didn't need to be loud or take over the whole screen to be amazing. This role started him on a very successful and important film career during the 1960s and 1970s. During this time, he became known as the perfect example of cool toughness and going against the rules. Throughout the 1960s, James Coburn became one of Hollywood's most important actors during a time when young people were questioning traditional rules. He starred in famous movies like The Great Escape in 1963, Charade in 1963, Our Man Flint in 1966, and Like Flint in 1967, and The President's Analyst in 1967. When he played a secret agent named Derek Flint, he made fun of James Bond while also creating something new. His version mixed comedy, action, and self-awareness. Coburn's Flint character was smooth, but also didn't take things too seriously. He was really capable, but also seemed amused by how good he was. This showed James's natural charm and intelligence. As Hollywood changed in the 1970s, James started taking on more complicated roles where his characters weren't clearly good or bad. He appeared in movies like Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid in 1973, Cross of Iron in 1977, and Duck You Sucker in 1971. These performances showed how deep he could go as an actor. They revealed a man who could show disappointment, wisdom, and quiet thinking. Unlike many other actors from his time, James never seemed to care about being traditionally famous. Instead, he chose roles that made him think or that challenged the usual ways movies were made. Even with all his success, James's career was sometimes interrupted by his terrible rheumatoid arthritis. Sometimes it got so bad that he could barely move his hands or walk. For many years, he lived with constant pain and couldn't work as much. He stepped away from the spotlight during the late 1980s and early 1990s, but his strength showed through again. After he found a different kind of treatment that really helped his condition, James came back to acting with new energy. He gave some of the most powerful performances of his later career. His amazing comeback reached its peak in 1999 when he won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. This was for playing a mean, controlling father in a movie called Affliction. His performance was raw, scary, and very real. It showed a level of deep emotion that proved to everyone how good of a dramatic actor he really was. The Oscar wasn't just an award. It was recognition for decades of excellent work, never giving up, and staying true to his art. In his later years, James kept working regularly. He appeared in movies like Payback in 1999, Snow Dogs in 2002, and Monsters, Inc. in 2001. In Monsters, Inc., he did the voice for a character named Henry J. Waternoose, who was gruff but lovable. Even when he was just doing voice acting, you could still tell it was him. His voice was warm, had authority, and was full of character. James Coburn's personal life, just like the characters he played on screen, was marked by loyalty, depth, and a quiet sense of commitment. This was actually different from the tough, lonely characters he often played in movies. He got married twice, and both marriages were important and meaningful parts of his life. James's first marriage was to Beverly Kelly in 1959. This was when his acting career was still trying to get established. Together, they built a life away from all the attention of Hollywood. They raised 2 children and were married for almost 20 years. These years happened at the same time as James was going from being a promising character actor to becoming a star known all around the world. This was a time filled with long movie shoots, a lot of traveling, and the pressure that comes with being famous. Even though his career demanded so much, James stayed devoted to his family. He valued having a stable life and privacy more than living like a wild celebrity. After 20 years of marriage, James and Kelly got divorced in 1979. This ended a long partnership that had been a big part of his adult life and had been with him during his rise to fame. Many years later, James found lasting love again with an actress named Paula Murad. The couple got married on October 22, 1993, in a romantic wedding ceremony in Versailles, France. It was an elegant and meaningful location that showed how deep their connection was. Their relationship was defined by respecting each other, sharing the same values, and having a deep emotional bond. Murad stayed with James during the later years of his life, including times when he dealt with serious health problems. She gave him constant support and companionship. Beyond just their personal happiness, James and Murad shared a commitment to helping others. Together, they created the James and Paula Coburn Foundation. This was a charity organization dedicated to supporting causes that were important to them. This charitable work showed James's generosity and his desire to leave a positive, lasting impact that went beyond his celebrated film career. The couple stayed devoted to each other until James Coburn died in 2002. This closed a final chapter that was defined by love, partnership, and a shared sense of purpose. For many decades, James Coburn was often asked about the men who influenced his career and how he thought about Hollywood. But one name stayed in the background like a story that was only half told: Robert Mitchum. Only later in his life did James start to speak more openly about the actor he admired, was a little scared of, and ultimately respected as one of the most real and authentic forces Hollywood ever created. James once thought back on his earliest memories of Mitchum with a mixture of amazement and carefulness. He said that when Robert Mitchum walked into a room, you felt it right away. He didn't announce himself. He didn't need to. The air just changed. You knew this was a man who lived by his own rules. To James, Mitchum represented a time in Hollywood when masculinity couldn't be faked or practiced. He was raw, went with his instincts, and completely uninterested in playing the movie industry's games. According to James, Mitchum's reputation for being tough was well-deserved, but people really misunderstood it. James explained that people thought Robert was dangerous or lazy because he didn't jump when the movie studios told him to. But that wasn't laziness. That was independence. He refused to pretend. In a business driven by image and doing what you're told, Mitchum's refusal to make himself look perfect for public approval made him both respected and feared. James also talked about Mitchum's acting style, which he believed was way ahead of its time. James said Bob didn't act like he was acting. He just existed in front of the camera. He said that scared a lot of people because you couldn't see the technique, but it was all there. He just hid it under stillness. For James, Mitchum's simple, minimal style was like a masterclass in holding back, proving that being quiet could be more powerful than giving long speeches. Even though Mitchum had a rough exterior, James insisted there was warmth underneath it. He said Mitchum had a wicked sense of humor. James remembered that it was dry as the desert. If Bob liked you, he didn't say nice things to flatter you. He teased you. And if he teased you, you knew you were in. James believed Mitchum's humor was like a shield, protecting a man who didn't trust fame, but understood what it meant. James also talked about Mitchum's fights with the Hollywood system. He said Bob didn't hate movies. He hated hypocrisy. He saw how movie studios used people up, how they smiled while controlling them. James admired Mitchum's ability to survive without giving up who he really was, even when controversy almost ruined his career. Looking back, James admitted that Mitchum influenced his own way of acting and living life. He reflected that watching Bob taught him that you don't have to beg for approval. You show up, you do the work honestly, and you let the rest fall where it may. That way of thinking stayed with James throughout his career. It shaped his own screen persona as a man who seemed effortlessly cool, but also deeply grounded. In his final thoughts about Mitchum, James spoke with clear respect and reverence. He said Robert Mitchum wasn't trying to be a legend. That's why he became one. He didn't bend. He didn't apologize, and he didn't fake a single moment. Hollywood doesn't make many like that anymore. For James Coburn, breaking his silence about Robert Mitchum wasn't about revealing secrets. It was about honoring a man who stood for truth in an industry built on illusion. James concluded by saying Bob was real, and real lasts. James Coburn, the Academy Award-winning actor known for his rugged charm, effortless coolness, and distinctive voice, died from a heart attack at his Beverly Hills home on November 18, 2002. He was 74 years old. His sudden death shocked the entertainment world because James had still been active in his career and was still appearing in both movies and television even in his later years. According to his wife Paula, the moment when he passed away was very personal and deeply sad. He died in her arms while they were doing one of their favorite things together, listening to music in the comfort of their home. This personal detail showed the tender, human side of a man who was often remembered on screen for playing tough guy roles and being stoic. It gave fans a look into the private warmth and vulnerability that defined his life when he wasn't on camera. After the heart attack, James was quickly rushed to the well-known Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. This is a hospital known for its advanced care and its history of treating famous patients. Despite the fast response and immediate medical attention, he was pronounced dead shortly after arriving. This marked the end of a career that had lasted over 5 decades and left a mark on Hollywood that would never be forgotten. His death caused an outpouring of tributes from colleagues, friends, and fans. People reflected on both his versatility as an actor and the quiet generosity he showed in his personal relationships. James's legacy included not only memorable performances in classic movies like The Magnificent Seven, Affliction, but also his reputation as a man of intelligence, humor, and a calm, commanding presence that inspired younger generations of actors. Tragically, the pain of loss continued for his family. Less than 2 years after James Coburn died, his beloved wife Paula died from cancer on July 30th, 2004. She was only 48 years old. Their marriage had been marked by deep companionship, supporting each other and sharing passions. It was cut short in both directions, leaving behind a legacy of love and devotion alongside the sadness of their early deaths. How close their relationship was became obvious in the way James passed away in her arms. Paula's own death underscored the deep bond they shared. It was a reminder of the human fragility behind the larger-than-life personas that are often celebrated in Hollywood. James's death also made people think about how short life can be, even for people who achieve fame, wealth, and acclaim. It highlighted how important personal connections are and how the quiet, uncelebrated moments, like listening to music with a loved one, define a life just as much as public accomplishments. Today, both James and Paula Coburn are remembered not only for their careers and contributions, but also for the deep, genuine love that characterized their time together. They left fans and friends with memories of both an extraordinary actor and a couple whose bond went beyond even death.